In this video we're going to be looking at multiplying fractions. So this in some ways is actually easier than the addition and subtraction of fractions because there's no need to find a common denominator. So we're going to go through a couple of examples. It might be a good idea just to pause the video and read through a couple of these key ideas before you watch me go through these examples. So in our first example, they've asked us to calculate 3 over 5 times 2 over 7. So when we're multiplying fractions, all we have to do is basically multiply the numerators by each other, and that will give us our resulting numerator, and you multiply the denominators by each other, and that will give us our resulting denominator. Shortly we'll go through some examples where we can look for factors to cancel out, but we'll go through that in the next example. So here we have 3 times 2, which is 6, over 5 times 7 is 35. Now remember, we always want to write our answers in the simplest possible form. There's no factors, common factor which I can cancel out in this case, therefore 6 over 35 will be my answer. Now you're going to have a go at doing this example here. The video is going to pause and you're going to just input your solution into ClickView. Okay, so hopefully you had a go at doing the question. So again, in this question it was just a matter of multiplying our numerators by each other. So 2 times 1 gives me 2, over 3 times 7 gives me 21. Again, there's no common factor for me to cancel, therefore 2 over 21 is my simplest fraction. Now in example 2D2, there's a bit of a step that we can do to make our lives a little easier. So if I was to try and multiply 8 by 25 without using a calculator, it would take me a few seconds. So, and say, or we would be able to do 5 times 12 because we know our times tables. But what we can do to make our lives easier is we can actually look for a common factor between our numerators and our denominators. So straight away when I see 5 and 25, I know that 5 is a factor of each, so I can actually divide both of those values by that common factor of 5. So 25 divided by 5 gives me 5, and 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. Then I've got 8 and 12. Again, I can see that I've got a common factor of 4. So if I was to divide each of those by their common factor of 4, 8 divided by 4 gives me 2, and 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. So now that I've simplified those values, I can again simply I multiply the numerators by each other, and I multiply the denominators by each other. So 2 times 5 gives me 10, over 1 times 3 gives me 3. Now clearly our answer's an improper fraction. We can convert this to a mixed number, so this will be 3 and 1 over 3. So I want you to pause the video here and have a go at this question and input your answer into ClickView. Okay, so hopefully the first thing you did was you looked for some common factors. So we have 8 and 4, so our common factor that we could divide each of those by is 4. So if I divide 8 by 4 I get 2, and if I divide 4 by 4 I get 1. So now it's just a matter of me multiplying my numerators. So 2 times 1 gives me 2, and 9 times 1 gives me 9. And that is as simple as that fraction can be, so that will be your final answer.